The beautiful ex-mercenary, Glenda Atlee. Every time she pulled her trigger, a life was taken. Ever since she was summoned to this world, she held on to her beloved firearm. It had never betrayed Glenda's expectations. It became a part of her, so much so that shooting became second nature. With the addition of the unique skill Sniper, Glenda was invincible. Unique skill Sniper. This skill has three main functions. Magic perception for the amazing ability to identify any target, outcome calculation to analyze actions, and space manipulation. The last function in particular, space manipulation, made Glenda almost invincible. Within her field of vision, Glenda could connect the space between any 2 points. In other words, her effective range of fire was anywhere within her eyesight. She could fire a bullet right next to the enemy's head, making bullets pass through any obstacles at will to hit the intended target. Factors such as gravity and air resistance could be neglected by her, allowing her to perform long-distance sniping even without a sniper rifle. These conditions made her emerge victorious in every fight. However, the misstep she made last time made her realize that there were stronger individuals out there. It wouldn't work. Monsters like that are too strong for me. With a single glance, Glenda had immediately recognized how dangerous her enemy was. That opponent, Diablo, was someone Glenda couldn't hurt with her pistol. This wasn't simply about physical attacks being ineffective against Diablo, however. There were two different types of bullets in her arsenal that Glenda could fire. Normal bullets and magic bullets. If she didn't want to leave any magical trace, she would use the normal bullets. Faced by monsters that were resistant to physical attacks, she would concentrate her own mana into bullets, and fire them as a magical attack. It was a universal mechanism that was designed to be effective against all manner of opponents. Therefore, one would assume that Glenda had no blind spots in that regard. However, her fight against Diablo was different. Glenda's instincts were screaming at her to run away. Her outcome calculation she had relied on predicted no other outcome but her demise. Even with her overpowered abilities, there were still opponents in this world that she couldn't defeat. On that day, this sack was laid bare in front of her eyes. It was hard for her to swallow. And today, Glenda started to work on the assassination as her target came within range of her magic perception. The bullet she shot would appear around 50 centimeters away from the target. In a blink of an eye, her target would receive a headshot that was common sense. 50 centimeters was a wonderful distance. When connecting dimensions, there could only be a certain amount of mass overlapping with the wormhole. Anything exceeding a certain threshold would cause the connection to fail. In other words, if her target moved around, the space that Glenda connected between them could be disrupted. That's why she chose 50 centimeters. No matter how strong her opponent was, no one could deal with such a small object suddenly appearing at such a short distance. The bullet would tear through the air at supersonic speed. Her target probably wouldn't even catch a glimpse of it. It may be a different case for a monster like Diablo, but some prince of a large state is much easier to deal with. Never mind, there's no use for me to sigh at this point. Let's just prepare for the next encounter. At that moment, Glenda was calm and composed, but in the next second, something shocking occurred. The bullet that was meant to pierce through the prince's skull disappeared. How can this be? What happened? The unexpected situation of paranormal activity became her reality. She didn't understand the reason, but if someone were to have done this, it must have been the demon lord. Is it that guy? I've underestimated the master of that asshole demon. Glenda's instincts told her so. She fired once more. If the perfect ambush didn't work, taking more shots would be in vain. Even though she knew this in her heart, the mission would fail if she did not do so. Her master Mariabelle and elder Granbelle would not tolerate such a misstep. This, ultimately, made her miss her chance to flee. Ha, indeed. You have underestimated Rimuru-sama. That is unforgivable, and I don't intend to forgive you either. Tisk, who is there? My name is Souei, Demon Lord Rimuru-sama's loyal secret spy. Glenda was shocked, but she realized something. He didn't ask for her name. Glenda judged that it was not because he wasn't interested, but that he had planned to capture her before interrogating her. If that was the case, all that was left for her was to flee in order to hide the information she held. The assassination had failed. And now, the worst outcome would be her capture. If she were to continue making mistakes, she would be executed for incompetence. There had been several colleagues of hers who suffered that fate. She had to prioritize running away. After making up her mind, she engaged a standoff against her enemy. He knew about my planned attack. I spoke too much, but Rimuru-sama has already seen through everything. You can resist all you want. I don't plan to kill you anyway. But the more you resist, the more you will suffer. How generous of you. Then I shall not hold back. Without hesitation, Glenda pulled her trigger as she finished her sentence. She only shot one normal bullet. There were 16 more rounds left. However, she figured that it wouldn't work on this magic called Souei. Magic bullets might work. As she thought so, Glenda pulled out her army knife. It was clean and swift. There was elegance in her ferocious strike as Glenda slashed at Souei. He dodged the attack with minimal movement. Glenda grinned as she saw that. The knife was enchanted with her mana. Not only did her weapon deal physical damage, she also gave the knife a magic effect. This was specifically used to deal with opponents who were resistant to physical attacks. Souei surely wouldn't have thought that the knife was of any threat. Moreover, Glenda had seen through Souei's preference in combat. This guy doesn't like dragging on with combat. If that's the case, he probably would get tricked by a simple attack like this. I'll break your calm demeanor. As she thought, Glenda continued her attack. Her right hand had her knife while her left hand held her gun. She didn't hesitate to continue shooting as she observed Souei's reaction. As she predicted, he didn't react much, since Souei thought that even if the attack were to connect, it wouldn't deal much damage. But he wasn't getting careless, he was still very cautious of Glenda's right hand. I've still got one more card up my sleeve. But among the people I've battled, he's probably the strongest. As far as she was concerned, Diablo didn't count. Her logic was that opponents she couldn't fight at all should not be included. It was then that Souei's left index finger twitched. Glenda didn't miss it, she immediately backflipped away upon sensing the danger. She quickly distanced herself from her opponent. It was the right call. In the next second, extremely thin strings closed in on where Glenda was just a moment ago. Ho, you are quite sharp. Thanks for the compliment, you ain't half bad. While exchanging praise, Glenda didn't forget to shoot in return of the favor. It was not too big of a threat to Souei. As opposed to dodging, he was more focused on approaching her head-on. As expected, he's pretty naive. That's great, this type of enemy is easy to take care of. Magic bullets didn't require gunpowder. They could be shot well suppressed, and you could mix them in while shooting normal bullets. Her opponent, who had gotten used to her tactic, would be too careless to defend himself. She would be able to defeat him when he least expected it. That was Glenda's strategy. The attack that he thought was incapable of harming him would become the fatal blow. Even if her opponent were on guard, such a sudden strike would still be difficult to react to. Glenda had defeated some strong people before, and Souei's reaction was just like theirs. As his right shoulder was hit by the magic bullet, he was sent flying spectacularly. Ahahaha, how embarrassing for a handsome man like you. Lamar fell for the same trick. The more confident you are, the easier it is to be played by a simple trick such as this. Glenda laughed out loud. But her eyes weren't slacking. She was inspecting Souei's wound. You shouldn't be careless when hunting your prey. That was the ironclad rule of warfare. Until she made sure that her opponent was dead, Glenda would not let her guard down. After all, she didn't think that one bullet would be able to kill Souei. I see you are more difficult to handle than I expected. You a sore loser or something. Sorry, but since you've seen my face, I'll have to eliminate you. Souei stood up, his right arm missing. Glenda could see her victory before her. Still, she was even more cautious as she pointed the gun in front of her. Magic bullet worked. And now for my trump card, I'm gonna make sure to blow his head off. Glenda activated her unique skill sniper and aimed cautiously. Rest assured, the order I received was to capture you. I suppose the goal was to interrogate you for information, but Rimuru-sama is a kind man. If you were to tell us everything we wanted to know, he wouldn't take your life. You've got balls talking all big at this point. Glenda roared as she pulled the trigger. 3 bullets aimed for his head and 2 for his heart. 5 magic bullets in total were fired as planned. The bullets were shot and instantly warped in space, appearing in front of Souei, as well as the right of his head. There were also bullets shot directly in front of his heart and to his left flank. All 5 bullets tore into his body. War Bullet, Glenda's ultimate technique. The magic bullets spawned from mana were different from normal bullets, and would disrupt magic heal. Even if her opponent could regenerate, they wouldn't be able to revive after being hit. No matter if her opponent were a master of knife and gunplay, when getting hit by supersonic bullets coming from all directions, even the best amongst the elite would not be able to handle it. Glenda had come to understand her capabilities from her past experiences. That was the secret to her survival. For this reason, Glenda was certain that Souei had met his end. Souei's body crumbled into black smoke in front of Glenda's eyes. She was relieved. Since she had laid eyes on Souei, she had felt a deep feeling of unease. Even though it was not as sharp as when she ran into Diablo, her instinct told her that her opponent was dangerous. You were done. Since you were strong, I didn't want to hold back, Glenda muttered after feeling greatly reassured. Yet it seemed that she had done so too early. A voice that, by all common sense, should not have been heard was raised behind her. Is that so? Then you shall promptly admit defeat and let me capture you. Glenda jumped away subconsciously. She turned back quickly and found Souei standing there. How is this possible? Didn't you just die? You're just full of jokes, aren't you? How could that weak of an attack have killed me? In the first place, there's no reason for me to lose to a cheap shot like you. Then I'll do it again, eh, what? Glenda's line was cut short. It was to be expected. To her disbelief, Souei's orb began to spread all around her. She quickly initiated magic perception and saw a reality that she didn't want to face. No way. How can this be? Why are you everywhere? What kind of joke is this? What kind of skill is this? It's very simple. I have a skill called clone. And that was it. They are not as strong as me, but since you were able to defeat one of my clones, you should be proud of yourself. Souei praised Glenda. Yet there were still 4 other Soueis standing. Glenda had nowhere to run at all. After shouting in a tone devoid of womanly charm, she launched her attack at Souei. The battle that would teach her to spare began.